Hey, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live episode, which is part of our GBS Leadership Connect series here at Everest Group. I'm Rotashu Agarwal, partner with the firm based in London. And I have a very interesting topic to talk about and a very seasoned practitioner to bring to this discussion today. So I'm joined by Lars from Fresenius Kabi. Lars, thanks again for your time today and welcome to this LinkedIn Live.
Thank you, Rohit. It's my pleasure. Hi, everyone. So I'm very happy to share some experiences and some thoughts on how GBS can contribute to a successful transformation journey in a big company. So thank you again for the invite, Rohit.
Great. And again, welcoming all our listeners globally to here today. Please do share where you're dialing in from in the chat. And this is a live interaction. So if you have any questions, any comments, do share from your own experience and your questions. Keep posting them in the chat and we'll keep an eye out and then try and cover those questions. But Lars, really, rewinding the clock, going a couple of years back, right? We have had so many discussions about GBS becoming the transformation engine for the company. And many are doing that at varying scale, varying pace, and varying degree of success. But essentially, among many other elements, there are two key forces from a CIO perspective, from a CTO perspective, that are really increasing the expectation of GBS and impacting a large part of operations as well. One is, without a doubt, the AI, with the scale at which the potential that AI offers and the scale at which it offers to change the way we work. Every GBS is thinking about how do we enable execution and implementation of AI solutions and embed that into how we work. But the second, for all global companies who operate on SAP, and there's a very large portion of companies who do, fairly complex, ERP ecosystems that are connecting global companies and various workflows. Many of them are in different stages of their journey in transitioning to S4 HANA. There are very few who have actually completed that journey, fully, but most are in the process. And very interestingly, while many talk about it as a technology project, the largest impact is on the entire organization, the rest of the operation, and everybody is impacted. And that is where, as Lars, again, over several months, I have enjoyed talking about it with you, with many other GBS leaders, of how their GBS is part of the journey. Now, some journeys are more enjoyable than others. Some are definitely painful, but some, like yours, is truly inspirational, where the GBS was not only a recipient or a kind of seated in the back seat, but they were part of the conversation. They were co-leading, and they were making it easier for the broader organization. They were making it easier for the GBS to lean into it, and then kind of helping do this the right way. Uh, Thanks again, Lars, for making time and agreeing to share your story, bring this out, because I believe GBS market has, or as a model, GBS has grown from strength to strength. But it is a cusp of time where there is a bit of a test of, can they lean into the transformation agenda of the company and really multiply the value they deliver, or will they be impacted instead by what happens? So this is really important.
Yes.
I want to call out today that Lars generously gave us more time, and we were able to go into the story of Fresenius Kabi's this initiative in a lot of depth. We have captured that into a practitioner's perspective, which will be now available for all our listeners and then all Everest Group research members. So you can scan a QR code, which will be displayed on the website. But later on, if you're coming back to this, you can see the details in the comments and reference the full document. But there is no substitute of hearing it directly from the person who was in charge of this. So once again, Lars, Thanks for this. Let's get right into it, Lars. So
Yes.
let's start by understanding a little bit about what got you to the point where you got involved in this initiative, Lars. So tell us a little bit about your background, your journey,
Mm,
Fresenius Kabi GBS, and then
mm,
how this initiative started.
yes. Yeah, thank you, Rohit. It's a really pleasure to share some experiences here. So I'm Lars Holz. I'm the head of the Fresenius Kabi Global Business Services. I joined 3.5 years ago. And of course, my goal was not just like running the delivery organization, also contributing to Fresenius Kabi's transformation journey out of the GBS perspective, and this have experience in other companies. So I was leading the Lufthansa Global Business Services in 2.5 years before I joined Fresenius Kabi, and I've been doing transformation and shared services in other companies in different industries in the last 15 years. And I've always been involved in like these transformation programs, be it in the transformation office, be it also as part of the crisis, core crisis team at Lufthansa during COVID times. And so this is something what I think GBS can contribute very significantly, because we have a good understanding of the processes. We are the biggest user group of SAP, and as Roy rightly says, S4 is of course one important part of the transformation journey, and this is where GBS can play a major role. What is important? Important is really to find a way to involve the organization into a GPO concept. At Fresenius Kabi, there was no GPO roles existing, so this was something that had to be set up. And luckily, GBS played an important part here. So we're covering lots of GPO and PO areas with GBS, where we're also very much deeply involved in the project work. So this is a prerequisite. Looking into the two areas, classical areas, you have the operations, the delivery excellence, and you have the process excellence. And the process excellence, this can like include transformation, ERP, but also software oriented way of working. And so this is the I think the major prerequisite that your GBS organization has the like empowerment to also influence the processes, process design, and also work on software and on technical stuff, and not only on the delivery.
Interesting. And then you said something about GPO, to which I want to come back a little bit
Mm,
later. And
yes.
we will keep encouraging our listeners today to share questions, if any, in
Mm,
chat, and I'll try to cover them with
mm,
Lars. But
mm,
Lars, a very, very interesting background. And again, you have had unique, a little bit, maybe not fully unique, but rather not very common either, experience across both technology and operations. So you have had a focus on kind of thinking about transformation differently than how
mm,
so many other GBS leaders, especially in Europe, think about. But
mm,
but let me inquire a little bit about the Fresenius Kabi's journey. So tell
mm.
me a little bit more about what kind of transformation journey was
Mm.
Fresenius Kabi going through,
Yeah, yeah.
what triggered the S4 HANA initiative, and
Mm,
how did GBS become, involved and then actually took a place in the core
mm,
initiative,
mm,
because simply the firm needed to move on, fair
mm,
enough, but I'm
mm,
sure there is more to it.
mm,
It's not rather simple. So what was the priority? What were the triggers? And
mm.
how did GBS become central to that initiative?
Yes. Yeah, so the basic question was, as we are in the situation that we need to move to S4 sooner or later from the ECC landscape, because SAP is not supporting the current landscape forever. So the basic question, and this has been discussed largely with the Fresenius Kabi board, is do we want to go to a like technical upgrade and like do the minimum, bring our landscape or the uplift it to the new architecture of S4, or do we want to go into a business transformation? And that means combine like the way we are doing business, the way we are operating, the way we are moving the data through the system, moving information to the systems. Do we want to address this from the holistic perspective? The discussion, of course, had a different directions in terms of cost, benefit, and classical transformation journey. And so the situation as such is not simple. We have a number of SAP systems, 5 different SAP systems, and a lot of differences within each of the 5 systems, different sizes, different releases, and many company codes are also working differently. So nothing is standardized so far, and this goes back to the history of the company, where the company was focusing very much on their markets, on their products, or on their like local improvements. And now we try to integrate the company, and this goes also well in line with the transformation journey Fresenius is in. Our CEO Michael Zen is explaining this very much also in the industry and beyond the industry to make to emphasize on the importance of like transforming the business as a whole, and working on an integrated way instead of like optimizing in either businesses, units, countries, or things like this. And this ultimately led to the direction that we say, let's approach it more from a holistic perspective. We see weaknesses in the processes, we see some rooms for improvement also in our value chain, and let's combine this, because S4 provides us a perfect architecture, and of course it's a lot of work, lots of groundwork required to define the standard processes, to come to the right process designs, to come to a harmonized, standardized way of working, and not a localized or like a differentiated way. But ultimately, the trust on the company was given that we are able to manage this transformation journey, and this is why we call it tech-enabled business transformation, and not so much like S4 implementation, to make sure this is a business transformation in the first place. And of course, with the help of the technology, S4 particularly, this is of course a big like coincidence and a big lever, and this is how the program started.
That's fascinating because again, I in the beginning I mentioned there are two big transformation levers among others that many companies are focusing on, and GBS are in the middle of it. One was AI, other was SAP. Even in AI, we are seeing that kind of disconnect. Are companies thinking about what is the business transformation or the business problem they need to solve and figure out the AI solution? What, how much, when? Versus they're thinking about, oh, this new AI tool I have, where do I put it? So that I think that thinking, however easy it sounds, is a key differentiator. And then something else you mentioned is a prerequisite, the GPO model. Would How would you describe a the impact of that business transformation first mindset and the GPO model, ensuring GBS played a central role, which is not common with many of your peers,
Yes.
rather than being involved as an afterthought? So I was curious to ask, why did that happen? And it seems like these couple of elements had a key role. But also, Lars, as you explain, I want to hear your opinion. If somebody does not have a GPO role, does that or model, does that mean their GBS cannot play a key role in this transformation? So again, two questions. Why could you take the central position? And then part of that, the business context in the GPO. And what does somebody do if they do not have the GPO model?
Yes, yeah, it's very important. So ultimately, you want to move from a variety of processes, from lots of different ways of working to one, and you need someone who defines this, right? So if you ask country or region or like business units, I will always say, oh, my process is good, so let's declare it for the standard. So you need someone, independent person, independent experts who defines the processes. And this is why we have designed a GPO organization. So in the beginning, it has been 12 end-to-end processes, for example, like record to report or plan to perform or order to cash. And now this has been condensed to 7 end-to-end processes. And for each of these 7 processes, we have defined a GPO role. And so this can be within GBS, this can be without GBS. Of course, GBS is very much overseeing all the areas, invoice to pay, order to cash, record to report, what is 3 important areas out of 7. And sometimes in some companies, you have like the responsibilities for processes, methods, and systems. within the GBS organization, and sometimes it's with corporate. So this is very important. It's not so important where it is particularly, but it's very important that you design a GPO organization and give a clear mandate to someone to determine and to design the way the processes uh, be conducted and operated in the future, because otherwise you will never come to a standard and you will never make the best use out of SAP. So this is very, very important. Luckily, GPS plays a big role here. I've also seen it different, for example, in Mercedes-Benz Group, where I spent the first 17 years of my career. There was a dedicated corporate department who were responsible for the process methods and systems, process design, including translation to the IT departments. And here it's part of the GBS organization, it's part of the program, it's part of the business. So we looked into the required profiles, and then we did not so much look into what is the best area, what is the best line area. We looked into how can we help the program best way to come to these standards, to come to this design, and this is why we've allocated the GPO. If you don't have GPO, from my perspective, this cannot work out. You cannot undergo a business transformation like Tech Enabled or Enabled by SAP without having a GPO and PO organization in place, because you will hardly have someone who has the mandate and who has the power and who has the capabilities and also the hierarchy to design things and determine the way of working for the company. Because ultimately, this business transformation will lead to a change in the ways of working, in the ways of looking into things that it requires much more discipline than we have now. So it's a lot of change management and also change behind it. And this is why it's so important that you have this particular GPO organization.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And what I'm thinking is we have listeners joining in from all over Europe. I saw people commenting from Italy, Switzerland, Poland, even Canada and US. So if anybody has done it differently and anybody
Mm,
does not have a GPO model, but they feel there is a way to do it, please do
mm,
share, different opinions as well, or ask your questions.
mm,
Diving further into this, Lars, so how did you go about executing this, right? The more detailed planning and executing. So, what kind of operating model or governance mechanisms were put in place to
mm,
bring together? Because GBS played a key role, but
mm,
you are one of the many different parts of the organization that had to come together. So, you had the IT, the business stakeholders, many others. So,
yes.
how did you bring the team together? And what,
Mm,
what what were the key steps, key milestones? How did you plan this? How did you go about this? Take us through the journey
yes.
what you have achieved so far.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, Rohit. So I think the most important part, right at the beginning, is to understand how important is this transformation for the company. So who can you involve from the board? How much support you get for your idea? Do you get board members engaged in the steering committees? So I think this is also another prerequisite, because it's this program touches all areas of the company, all businesses, all functions. And this is why it's super important to get the top management commitments, a very top management commitment, so to get the sponsor in the board and get the priority. The good thing with GBS is, and this is also true for Fresenius Kabi, so GBS is working with many areas. We have a setup across the whole world. We have centers in Poland, in India, in China, and in the Caribbean. We are working with all businesses. We are working with various functions. So lots of people in the company, lots of departments in the company are in touch with GBS, and GBS has a very good understanding of the business processes and of how the company is operating. So this is very helpful compared with someone who is just representing a certain business unit or a certain function. So this was also a very important thing. And once you get the involvement of the top management, the next question is, what is an effective setup for the program? Does it have to be led by GBS? No. We need a dedicated program lead. This is outside GBS, the Fresenius Group. Emphasize this program in the way that they said, let's make it a group program out of it, and not only a Fresenius Kabi program, but more a Fresenius Group program. And then we designed an organization with various decision bodies and with various fully dedicated program managers, one for the business transformation, on behalf of the group, one on behalf of the Fresenius Kabi businesses, and also an IT person, like an SAP person. So then you bring together a team, a very senior team with also very good reputation and very good acknowledgement in the company, and this team starts structuring the work. So you cannot just do it as a GBS leader. I cannot do this like by the way. So there needs to be a dedicated team. I can push this and I can bring in some ideas and I can bring in some conceptual ideas, but then ultimately we need people who take it up and people who get fully dedicated to the program.
Interesting. And while given the limitation of the format, this is a very extensive story. We may not be able to get into all the nitty-gritties. I would like to remind everyone listening in today that Lars has, made time to share full story, and we have documented it. So please refer to the offline report going into the details of it. I also feel you said something which is very important, right, Lars? And I just noticed the QR code is being projected on the screen so everybody can scan it or check the chat for details. But Lars, you said something very important where I think a lot of leaders, get stuck. Does GBS need to lead this? No.
No.
Talk to me a little bit more about that,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, playing a key role and leading something are two different things. One can create a lot of value without
Yes.
being at the helm of it or without having the glory of the front seat. So
Absolutely.
talk to me a little bit more about that, and
Yes.
because I want to unpack it, because a lot of people say I cannot do it if I'm not leading it. Why should I do it if I'm not leading it? How do
So,
you react to that?
yes. So yeah. So this is an obvious like reaction. I cannot be successful. I'm not leading it, but so we have a different view here at Fresenius. We have also the saying, what is perfect, but a team can be. So I think we need dedicated people. We need people who really make this on as top priority on their own agenda. And I cannot be a GBS leader at the same time running an organization with hundreds of people and fully focus on a big transformation program with a heavy investment. So this cannot work out. So we need people who are really focused on this, and we need to understand our roles in a team, because this type of program you can anyhow only address if you bring people from all different disciplines across the value chain of the company, including planning, production, sales, procurement, finance. So everybody is involved, and also you need to be in close collaboration with the businesses, at least with the big businesses, so to also understand how how does operations work today, how does production look like when we come to master data. There's also lots of expertise required, so you need to bring experts anyway. It's also the same with a GPO. So GPO is one person, but the GPO is only successful if he has an organization with POs, process managers, subject matter experts. And this is very good also in the culture of the company, that you don't have to be a leader to contribute significantly. We need to make this a team success, and it cannot be done an individual success. I personally am very fine with this, because I'm really absolutely committed and absolutely motivated to run GBS organizations and to improve this type of organizations and grow organizations. I would not want to be the fully dedicated program leader to this. And we have very good people who I'm also have been working closely already before the program started, and this is why it's a good team. So maybe the short answer is, it's not a question about the leader, it's a question about the team, and this team needs to be really put together in a really powerful way. And this is why this was a very successful start now here at Fresenius.
And you talk about the team. Were there specific capabilities in the team that you did not, or typically a GBS does not have, or even in an organization, it is hard to find and bring into the central team? So you had to dedicatedly go and add capabilities by hiring people elsewhere in the GBS. So from a
Yes.
team perspective, were there any key success factors that you had to work on to make sure this all comes together?
Yes, absolutely. So there's some key success factors, and ideally you have someone in the team who has been doing this in a similar way before with another company. So since Fresenius is on a change story since 4 years, so we of course have hired many people from outside, people coming with relevant experience from the industry, from different industries, and some of them had some experience already on S/4HANA or business transformation journeys. So this is one thing. The next thing is that we bring people together from different disciplines. So maybe one more from the process perspective, one is from the markets perspective, one from the IT perspective. So we need to bring people from different areas and different disciplines and different fields of knowledge together, because ultimately this is a very complex program what addresses everything. It addresses every process in the whole company, and is highly technical, and also requires deep knowledge about production, deep knowledge about the products and the production processes. So this is, again, the diversity of the team is very much key, and also the collaboration mindset in terms of compared with making it a success for an individual.
And I was hearing you the last, 20, 25 minutes. You
Mm.
make it sound very easy, you make it sound very seamless, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it was not and it is not. So talk to us a little bit about what were the key challenges and learnings during this transition,
Mm.
how did you kind of then work around them, tackle
Mm.
them as you
Mm.
progressed?
Yeah. So of course, the first challenge is really decision making. Convince the top management, the board members to really buy into this story. This is really important. Secondly, it's important, but not that difficult, to find the right setup, to find the right structure, because this is quite more or less self-explaining, because you need to address every area of the company as such. But then the next complexity starts to find the right resources. So here we are suffering in some time. So you need a certain expertise. You need to be able to free up the people. People are very much involved in projects, in the areas, in the businesses, in the functions. This is really important, that you free them up and make the best people available, that you have a commitment that good people are also allocated and assigned to the program and not kept in other projects. So I think this is the most critical thing after the decision making, that you have enough resources, enough internal resources, because if you just come with the consultants and they come with lots of manpower, but they're not the change agents like an internal leader can be. And this is why we need the right mix between internal resources and also external support.
Got it. And then how do you ensure seamless integration of the external resources?
Mm.
Is it talent you are hiring? Is it
Yeah.
execution consultant?
Mm.
What kind of, again, maybe we may not go into the specifics. I understand that, but
Mm.
generally, uh, this is important because it's not all do it yourself.
No,
So
so
how did you decide
mm.
where, how much, and how do you make it work as one team when you work
Yeah.
with external teams?
So very much from the beginning, I said we need to really build this on internal resources. We cannot just have too many consultants and have an unhealthy ratio. And this requires that you, of course, hire people. We have just founded a center in India, in Pune, a little bit more than 2 years ago. And of course, we found a lot of experienced people on that market. And we found many people who have been on S4 journeys, on business transformation journeys with other companies. So this was very helpful and brings the people into the core teams in the project, also from the GBS center in Wrocław. We had good experts already, and we increased the number of experts, so we hired from outside. So the short answer is hire the relevant experts from outside. It takes some time until they are familiar with the processes, but it does not take too long. But you're building a very strong team to really get the best out of the consultants as well. And so this is what we invested. We invested into hiring experienced people on all different levels, experts, managers, leaders, so across all levels and across the whole areas of the company. So this was also a key success factor.
Amazing. And forgive me for going on a tangent for a few seconds, Lars, but you brought up India. Reminds me that we are bringing our flagship conference for GBS and GCC leaders called Engage. We will be doing it for the first time in India, in Bangalore, on November 13th. We are sharing a link where people can learn more and express and trust. This is a buy invite only event. This is unlike any other conference you have ever been in terms of the GBS GCC conference in India. Lars, you have been exposed to some of it in other parts of the world, though you will be in India at the time. But thanks for your time today, and possibly that gets you the pardon, for not attending our event. But I know your team will be there, and you have some very urgent global leaders visiting India in a different site, so you can't be in two places in one time yet. But I would encourage everyone to join us or request your participation. We are filling out fast, but we are looking at what is important now for GCCs amid all the uncertainty and transformation, but also huge expectation, but also what's next. And transformations like these are one part of what we are covering. Coming back to our topic, Lars, I'm kind of following some of the questions we are getting from our listeners today. There's a question around how do you show the value you delivered in terms of the business transformation? You said this is a business transformation initiative. This is not a tech upgrade.
Yeah.
What impact does the GBS made, and how did you articulate it? I'm just expanding on the question a bit.
Yes, a very good question, Rohit. So by the way, we will be represented in that conference on the 13th of November. My head of GBS India, Sachin Murika, will be on site. So thank you again. Looking forward to this one. Yes, how do you measure your value? That's also an important question, because ultimately you need to indicate a certain value. You need lots of money because this transformation is costly, and the S4 design is also so costly. But it is not an easy answer to this question, because it depends on where you are in the maturity of your businesses, right? So I see value coming from all areas. I see value coming from the supply chain. I see value coming from the integration of information, integration of data. So we will have like one master data, one source of truth for master data, for vendor, for customer, for materials. And we don't have like separate or different material data for the same thing. We will have a much easier S&OP, sales and operations planning process. So that will help us to generate more outcome, to reduce the order backlogs, to like optimize the allocation of goods to markets, to customers. So there's a lots of benefit also in the core businesses, and obviously you will have a simplification if you don't run so and so many processes in parallel, and you have built one template instead of like having different ones that requires less IT resources. The technology will also help us further. So once we have laid the foundation with the data and with the structure of the way we are working, it's really much easier to apply AI or apply digital analytics, what gives you even more value. So I think there's lots of value coming from different areas. And but depending on the industry. When I was with automotive was very much advanced in the value chain, because this was very much higher complexity and a fast speed. So this was really good data quality. There you have maybe different value case than in the pharma industry. But most importantly, look at your weaknesses. Everybody knows where we have weak spots in the organization, where we can improve, and try to combine it, try to address it in a correct way, and really combine this process design and this definition of standards to overcome the weaknesses and to achieve improvements in your whatever type of processes.
No, that's insightful. And there's another question around master data. How do you ensure master data readiness when you embark on this journey? So anything for our listeners who are asking that question, Lars?
Yes. No, it's a very important question, and this has to be at the very, very, very beginning. So when we just decided on this business transformation journey, we have immediately started to understand about the situation on our master data in all four domains. We're speaking about vendor, customer, material and finance master data, because it's very absolutely important for the migration success that we have the master data under control. So we have designed a concept based on MDG as a single source of truth, and we started cleansing the master data. We looked into, like, for all of the domains, into duplicates, into incomplete, incorrect records, identified this, read it out with technology and made it visible, addressed it to the teams, designed a process, how master data has to be cleansed, how it has to be maintained. And so this is what we are already doing in preparation to that journey. And then, of course, we bundle all these master data maintenance activities in one team and make sure that we stay clean, because it's the same important. You need to cleanse, but you also need to make sure that you stay clean and define robust processes so that you're also not vulnerable in the areas of master data, and you to clearly define roles, who can request master data changes, who approves it, who maintains it, and so on and so forth. So this is really preliminary work that has to be done. Otherwise, you don't come to any further. If you have the design but you have not cleaned up the data, then you will struggle with the implementation, and this must be avoided. So this is why data is also a separated stream. So I spoke about the 7 end-to-end processes, and the data is a separate stream. It's the same level like a work stream for a process. It's the data stream, and this needs to make sure that we get the migration readiness, that we get the data ready. And we started early enough, so we have time to do our homework, but it's hard work given the size of the company and the different ways of working we have seen in the past.
Got it. And thanks to Mauro for submitting this question. I hope we covered what you wanted to understand, but feel free to share your reactions or any follow-up questions in the chat, right? Moving on to another question, and then we may not be able to cover all the questions that we are getting, but Lars, in the time available, I'll keep throwing these at you to make the best out of this time. But
Yes,
Ian is asking us about the approach. How do you again, I'm rephrasing his words, but how do you balance between the agile and the waterfall approach? And Ian has done both, and then found agile to be more effective, more transparent, but you have to adjust it a little bit. So
yeah.
Lars, from your experience, how did you plan this, and then is there a clear winner approach, or how do you balance?
Yeah, so it's for me, it's a difficult answer, because I'm not a big fan of the agile or waterfall models. I'm a big fan of things that fit to the company and that work out best, right? And at the end, it's a combination of both. So in some areas, it needs to be waterfall, especially when it comes to the right resources, when it comes to the priorities, when it comes to common goals, and also like assigning the best people to the projects. Then a certain hierarchy is required also in like setting up the work streams, setting up the deliverables, the priorities, and the right sequences. But of course, when we are working in the work streams, we have defined an agile approach, and this is like, it's also copied somehow from the automotive industry, bringing people together from different functions, bringing experts from different functions together. Bring a finance person, bring a procurement person, bring an IT person, bring a business person, bring a supply chain person into working groups, and they make the best out of it, because everybody comes with a different perspective. So this is what I call diversity. So bringing different capabilities and different also nationalities, different views on the table, and then you will, and given this common goals and clearly defined goals. So I think this leads to a very good outcome. One sentence to Mauro, to the question before. Yes, we have started the cleansing of the master data before the S4 journey starts, because this is a prerequisite, and we don't want to struggle and lose time now in the implementation phase.
Perfect. And this is helpful, Lars. Thanks again for detailing it out. I'll again remind our listeners that there's a lot more in the detailed paper that we published, so they can access that. Details will be shared. But looking forward, Lars, what's next? How does this help evolve the again, both what's next on this particular initiative, but how has the role and the success in this initiative change the thinking in the broader organization about the role of GBS in the business transformation and in the overall value to business?
So GBS has dedicated people, fully dedicated resources in the different work streams in the program. So sometimes we have a sub-lead role, sometimes we have a contributor role, so it's all different, right? But ultimately, so the organization understood that we have a very good expertise, that we have very good knowledge in the GBS organization, that we can easily translate also into operations, that we can easily also cross-check if this is reasonable, if it's doable, if this can be implemented like this. And this led also to an organizational change that we have just aligned on. And this is like a pillar of GBS, what is called process excellence, where we have business process management people, process architects, but also software solutions experts in the team. There is also one element around the software we did not cover so far, but SAP does not go, or business transformation, SAP S/4HANA implementation does not go without additional software. So it does not go without software like ServiceNow or workflow tools or process mining software. So this is also one thing that needs to be addressed, and is also a big lever for the success of the business transformation. So it cannot be done with SAP as an underlying technology only. There needs to be some add-ons to realize the full potential of this business transformation enabled by technology. Because technology is not limited to SAP. There's other areas and other additional solutions that you need to bring on top, also to cover all requirements in the areas of tax, in the areas of treasury, in the areas of procurement. So this cannot be done purely SAP.
Got it. And then last, you've already detailed on this a fair bit, so I don't want to be too picky, but there is a specific question that, from an implementation perspective, do you build an internal muscle or do you hire an external partner to when it comes to scaling the implementation? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so in our case, it's a clear answer, because we decided on a greenfield approach, a bluefield approach. So that means we come with an empty core, empty like instance, and then we have some best practices. We have some good things that we have developed before, the EWM, the warehouse management system, for example. And so this means there's lots of process design that need to be done, because we have such a variety of different processes and different ways of working, that we need to design it from scratch, more or less, or like have not a too advanced starting point. And this requires, of course, system integration. So because the process design will be delivered to the system integrator. The system integrator is supporting already, is involved in the process design workshops, and here we get help from external parties who have done this for other companies already. And in this regard, this is absolutely required. If you go to a brownfield approach, and if you have already a good majority and maybe only one ECC system and not a bunch of systems, that may look different, but in our case, so system integrator is absolutely required.
Got it. And then thanks for that, Lars. As much as I'm enjoying this, I'm mindful, we have limited time today. So my final question to you,
Mhm.
as you reflect on your journey,
Mhm.
and as you know, a lot of your peers are listening in live, but many
Yes.
more may look at this later on.
Mhm.
What would be your one advice to somebody who is A, starting the journey, and
Mhm.
B, in the middle of the journey?
Mhm. So my one advice for someone who is starting the journey: find a sponsor on board level. Find someone who really is a heavy supporter and puts it on top of the personal agenda on board level, because otherwise it will be very difficult to really, yeah, find the resources, get the support from all over the organization. And if you're in the middle of the journey, then reflect, reflect, reflect. So really reflect your plans, learn, take your time. So what I always suggest, and what I would always recommend, is not run a pilot and then like immediately start with the wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take their time to learn from the pilot. Really take the learnings. Maybe it slows down at that particular point on your project implementation roadmap, but you will be much faster afterwards. So this is really something: reflect, reflect, reflect. So when we have designed a roadmap, a complete roadmap, now for implementation, and so at the point where we are still in the design phase. we need to reflect this and really need to learn step by step, is this really the right way, or does it have to be corrected? Because we need to learn as we go. It is not possible to completely understand how this multi-year journal will turn out over the years. So this is maybe the advice for when you are in the middle of the program in implementation, reflection.
Perfect. To the point, I love how you phrased it, Lars. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
A couple of reminders. I know we may have not covered all the questions that were posted. Lars and I will try to get to some of that in the chat, but feel free to reach out to Everest Group, to me, to Lars directly to continue the dialogue. Hopefully, this has been useful. Once again, I'll remind you, you can access the full practitioner's perspective report. You will get this code, the link to access that, and then hear in more detail about this journey at Fresenius Kabi. Also, Lars, wishing you safe travels to India. And also for those who are dialing in from India or are in India in a couple of weeks, do reach out if you want to explore, if you can join Engage Bangalore. We'll be happy to host you. We'll be talking about the now and the next of GCCs, very strategic to global business transformation. So look forward to that. And I appreciate all our listeners joining in. Lars, I cannot thank you enough for making this time very, very helpful. I look forward to meeting you soon in a few weeks. But thanks again for your time, and have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you, Roy. It was a pleasure, and thank you to everybody who dialed in. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.